I think I sent you this one. This video of the little girl on Instagram. It's a reel. They asked her if she's going to drink something, I think. Let me turn this up real quick. Here we go. All right.
You're going to drink.
Drink? Woo!
Yeah.
Woo! I feel good.
You're going to drink.
Drink? Woo!
That's what day drinking does to you.
Right.
Should we get into this?
Let's do it. What do you say we start this here episode?
Hey, what a good idea.
Welcome, dear listener, to the Savor the Bird podcast. My name is Jonathan. Across the table from me is Mr. I got nothing. Mr. W2. How do you do?
Doing good. And yourself?
I'm doing all right. Just thinking about, my very own bottle of Blanton's, some Angel's Envy maple. Yes, I see you're wearing your Blanton's bourbon shirt. Mm-hmm. And it's got a nice earth tone.
Yep,
we talked about earth tones with our own t-shirts.
Mm-hmm. Based on this shirt, this is, I think, one of the colors that we were considering. Mm-hmm. I like this color ink versus a white.
Yeah, that's a ink. Two-tone. You got, gold and, gold and yellow.
I guess it is the two-color, but maybe this...
I think that's the same as the outlining of the
Yep.
yellow.
Yep. There's the bright yellow, and then there's this kind of the tarnished gold. Beige color, but I think that could be cool to consider.
Definitely. Anyway, back to it. Where was I?
Back in time.
Yeah, little Huey Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Back in time. Off the rails again. Gone off the rails. Stupid whiskey. So, across the table for me is Mr. Wizard Fingers W2. How do you do? He does very well. He's already getting a nose on this here Kentucky Owl.
I mean...
you've been chomping at the bit to pop the cork on this here Kentucky Owl.
I am.
Because this is the Confiscated from, is it the recipe from 1916? The whole Prohibition thing? What's the story with it? Lay it on me.
So I think it says somewhere in here, but the short of the story is back in pre-Prohibition... the Kentucky Owl, Charles Mortimer Dedman, was the original founder of Kentucky Owl. And the story goes that literally, when Prohibition hit, they sent out, I don't know if it was the marshals or police or whatever the agents were. Mm-hmm. They sent them out and they literally confiscated and shut down distillers,
and
all across
you
the
can
country.
Find pictures of them busting open barrels and pouring
right
out the
there,
contents.
right there in the streets and all that.
Yeah.
The story goes with Kentucky Owl that they did not break open the barrels; they confiscated the entire warehouse worth and locked it up in their own warehouse, so to speak, that magically burned to the ground late one night. But in the ashes of there really was no remnants of barrels or anything. It was just a burnt down barn.
Yeah.
So they just kind of magically
I've heard that called Dago lightning.
So anyway, let me see if this actually talks about that. And Charles Mortimer Dedman founded Kentucky Owl in the late 1800s. After every drop of this wise man's whiskey, an inventory was confiscated by federal agents under mysterious circumstances at the start of Prohibition. The C.M. Dedman distillery faded into history. But just a few years ago, his great-great-grandson, Dixon Dedman,
that's a cool name,
revived the brand, creating the Kentucky Owl Bourbons and Ryes as small batch, super premium spirits blends.
Very cool.
Kentucky Owl is developing a cult-like following of fans who wait eagerly for each release, and no wonder these things are powerful examples of quality and passion for the spirits. So apparently, this particular bottle is the exact mash bill of what was confiscated back in, what did you say that says 1914 or?
In 1916.
1916.
Well, that's really cool.
So, yeah, this is the Kentucky Owl Confiscated Bourbon Whiskey, Pretty much. I've seen it for as low as 90, and I've seen it as high as 140. Flavier, at the time that I got the bottle, it was listed at a $120 bottle. Mm-hmm. This was a free bottle for us because someone signed up off of our link off our website.
Which is very cool. Definitely go to savorthebourbon.com/shop store. Yeah, shop. And scroll down. The first thing listed is our affiliate link there with Flavier. You sign up for that, you get a free bottle, and we also get a free bottle of our choosing, and your choosing, of course. And if you shoot us an email, another way to contact us through email, info@savorthebourbon.com or w2savorthebourbon.com, jonathan@savorthebourbon.com. Shoot us an email and let us know which one you got and if you would be interested in sharing the experience with us, because we could be doing a Facebook Live, maybe. I don't know. We're still kind of farming that idea out. We could definitely do it virtually, and we could try this together and make a whole thing out of it. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But so this was the free one that you got.
Yep. And this is a Kentucky bourbon whiskey coming in at 48.2% ABV, which is 96.4 proof.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the bottle, it's fun to look at. You said
there's a lot of cool things about it.
Yeah, there's a couple houses, warehouses, whatever, sitting next to a dock on a river, and going down the river are a couple of little rafts being tugboated away. It looks like maybe those rafts are full of barrels. Meanwhile, this warehouse in the background is just engulfed in flames, and the owl up there and in the label and the artwork there just looks on, studies the whole thing.
And I guess the owl is the wise man in the wise man's whiskey.
Okay.
Which I guess is their tagline. And I've never seen the bottles in person myself, but if you got on their website, they have a lower end line of whiskeys that are called the Wiseman whiskeys.
Oh, okay. Huh. So that's like, Ford,
like $50
Mercury.
Bottles, yeah. Yeah.
Or GM and Chevrolet, so on and so forth.
Pretty dark color, especially for a no age statement on this.
Yeah. Well, it could be. Does it say anywhere in the notes about it being blended?
It's not single barrel, so
yeah, it's blended.
Absolutely blended.
So there's you could have 10.
It's got 1 year, 10 year, 15 year, 2 year.
It's whatever it takes to make the best tasting offering they can.
That's it.
And I totally get it.
Experience the bold and complex character of the Kentucky Owl Confiscated bourbon whiskey and immerse yourself into the legacy of this renowned distillery. With its rich amber color, enticing aroma, and harmonious blend of oaks, spices, and dried fruits, this bourbon is a delight for the senses.
Right. Well, I am ready to experience the bold and complex character, but it says enticing aroma.
The nose is
some
great.
Of this on the nose here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Lots of caramel. There's some oak.
Mm-hmm. It's a pleasant but not overly sweet caramel.
Yeah, it's a fruity sweet. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's sugary. Sometimes it's toffee or caramel. I guess like what it said, dried fruits. Yeah, right there, dried fruits. Mm-hmm. It's
a lot of vanilla.
Yeah. This has got a lot going for it just on the nose. 96.4 proof.
Yep, definitely some orange citrus.
Yeah, ready? Let's get some on the palate. The sweetness carries through. There's a little bit of a slap of oak right before it goes to the finish. Mm-hmm. There's a spiciness on the palate that I'm guessing is rye. I don't remember you saying anything about rye. It's very good though.
Don't have a mash bill on this one.
Yeah, it's like dried fruit, almost honeysuckle sweet.
There's a nice smooth custardy kind of a flavor to it, which I think plays in with the vanilla.
I can see that.
Vanilla custard. Definitely some apple, dried fruits.
I might be mistaking after my second sip here, I might be mistaking the rye spice for actual proof.
I mean, that's what's so interesting is proof does not always dictate a heat level.
It doesn't.
You know,
It really doesn't.
We've had some way, way higher proofed bourbons that drank a lot smoother and a lot calmer than this.
Definitely. But
And it's not bad. It's
Right.
nice, warm Kentucky hug.
it's got that Kentucky hug, which is not the kind of hug you might expect getting you the Flying J in Warrensburg. So the oakiness on here carries through, even to the finish. Mm-hmm. The finish is long, and it's present. It's
Man, look at those legs.
I was gonna say it's coating. There's a very a thick a viscosity, a thick feeling to it.
Mm-hmm. Getting a little bit ahead here about the finish, the notes here say a hint of cayenne.
No, I'm not picking up on that.
I don't know if I'm picking up on that, but there is a little bit of a spicy heat to it.
Yeah, and it also says velvety smooth and satisfying with the finish, and I totally agree with that.
Yep.
Have you been to this distillery or seen it?
I have not.
You have not? You've been to a few down that way.
Been to a couple. Speaking of distilleries down that way, one of my other Christmas presents from Ms. Katie, she ordered me a Kentucky Bourbon Trail Passport and Field Guide.
All right.
So this is the official book that you actually get stamped at all the distilleries. And so I'm like, does this mean where you've got some traveling to do?
Yeah.
And she's like, yep.
Hell yeah, it does.
So I'm excited. I've barely cracked into this, but yeah, this is the book that Faith had. She was showing it to me when we were visiting, and I was just, and at first I was just like, oh sweet, and she's like, well, that's not for you. And she gave us the actual map of there, but this is the book that you get that has all the histories and all that, and it's got some of the maps of the different regions and all that, and you can look at it if you want to.
Very cool. Yeah, I just got a notification. I got distracted. I got a notification on Facebook in the Whiskey Tribe that somebody had commented on my post about the Motorhead that we were going to try. And Aaron says, the Motorhead is okay. Not great, but okay. I think we're in some groups with some really snobby whiskey snobs. I'm glad I'm not there yet. I'm glad I'm not there yet. I'm glad I still find this exciting and fun and interesting. Yes, visit distilleries, collect stamps, unlock rewards. Is this all for Kentucky?
That's all Kentucky, yep.
Where all roads lead to bourbon.
Sign me up. I know there's no way you...
Bourbon Trail Almanac, Tulip Poplar, the State Tree, the Covered Bridge. Are you just going to go looking for each one of these things? 10 must-try foods while you're on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Ale 8-1, beer cheese, bourbon balls, Benedictine, bread pudding. I love bread pudding. A good bread pudding. It's hard to beat. Burgoo.
Speaking of bread pudding,
Fried chicken.
You know what I'm getting on the palate on this?
You think you're picking up bread pudding?
Not
Well, you
bread
said
pudding,
vanilla and custody.
but those little vanilla wafers.
Oh, that they
Those
put in the
little
banana
cookies?
pudding things?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This is not very rock and roll, but when I was a kid, had some family or family adjacent that had a farm with cows on it. So I remember feeding cows those vanilla wafers. And so I always equated that to cow food. I'd never thought people ate them until, many, many years down the road. And I tried to tell Jennifer this, because she'll eat vanilla wafers, which is fine. I don't have anything against them. It's just when I see people eating them, cow food. That's all I think when I see those things. But yeah, I've had them in banana custard, banana pudding pie, or whatever. It's good. It'll work as an ingredient. Not bad at all. It's like you with soda pop.
Right.
If it's part of something else and it enhances the whole experience, then yeah, sure, why not? But I'm not just going to eat them right out of the box. That's what cows are for. trying to think what it is that I want to write about it. Whenever I write these things, it's usually just kind of off the cuff, right off the fly. Before I figured that out, I go back to the whiskey pages. To the posts,
I mean, this,
because it was referred to in some of the things here.
some of the details on this. I mean, just looking at the neck band on this, it's got the jagged edge,
like where it's been burned at the edge.
Mm-hmm. And it's watermarked, or not watermarked, but
looks aged,
it's
like aged parchment.
Yep. The backside says, in 1916, just prior to Prohibition, the entire Kentucky Owl inventory was seized by the federal government, never to be seen again. Confiscated Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey is a tribute to the vanished barrels of bourbon and to opportunities lost. Bottled by Kentucky Owl LLC. Not much of a punt on the bottom of the bottle.
Yeah, but they put the punt in for strengthening the bottom of the bottle.
Yeah.
That's got a really thick base on it, though.
Yep. This top on there is so cool, though. I mean, it's a hardwood top with this copper
medallion or whatever, pressed onto it. It doesn't look like it comes apart.
Nope. And I don't want to try to.
Right. What form of witchcraft is this?
The Wise Man's Bourbon. Mm-hmm. Founder C.M. Dedman.
Yeah, I got a guy at work, last name Wiseman. I wonder if this is his bourbon. I'll have to ask him. He's the guy I told you about that I didn't know his name for 6 months, so I just called him New Kid. We had a high turnover rate with employees, so many years ago, and that's probably like any old place. But this guy, we hired him at 17, and I thought just looking at him, I could tell, at least I thought I could tell he's not going to last. But he's still there. So after 6 months of him working there, I decided I'm going to figure out what his name is and start calling him by that. But he was so used to me calling him New Kid, we just stuck with that. And so sometimes I'll be yelling from one end of the warehouse to the other, "Hey, New Kid!" He'll be like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Fuck you, huh?" And we're like, "Hey, fuck you!" And we flip each other off. It's a whole thing. Male bonding.
Yep.
It's what we do. Well, I was going to get into the whiskey groups. See what they had to say about it here. In the Whiskey Tribe, Joel says, I'm a big fan of that Kentucky Owl and the batch 1011. Do we know what batch this is?
No, but...
Or is that a different offering entirely?
That's a different offering.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Wonderful. That was...
more money.
See what they say here in the Whiskey Guild. All comments. Gerald said, that's funny. This guy's name is Gerald, and the guy I'm talking about, New Kid,
yep.
His name's Gerald. Anyway, so he says, have tried the Confiscated. Okay, but I like other Kentucky Owl lines better. Takumi and Batch 12. I've heard good things about the Takumi. Yep. The Japanese, which reminds me the Christmas presents. One of them was a Japanese whiskey, and I've been drinking a lot of old fashions made out of that.
Very nice.
Very tasty.
Smoking them too?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. Right as you asked me smoking, like I had clicked back on the page, and it brought me to my Facebook news feed, and it's got Chris Grant from Metalomania talking about how he quit smoking 6 years ago. So when you said smoking them too, I'm like, I don't smoke. Chris smokes. Chris doesn't smoke. He quit smoking. Who's smoking what? But yeah, I'm smoking the cocktails for sure.
Excellent.
So far, just old fashions. But what do you say we get to the ratings?
Let's do it.
On the nose, I gave it a 4 1/4.
Really?
Yeah, because I liked all the stuff that it had to offer. It had everything that you usually get off of a bourbon. Like you've got the sweet kind of vanilla oakiness, and even with it being such it's not such a high proof. It's only 96.4. It's not 100 proof or higher, but sometimes anything over 80 will floor my nose, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't get past this, the alcohol burning my nose. But yeah, you could smell plenty of it, and I keep talking about the Jim Beam Black being my new standard as far as Jim Beam goes, or my go-to. Like I'm always going to have that on my shelf or whatever. So that being my new 5. This has to clock in at least a 7 because it's everything that Jim Beam has to offer on the nose, which was 3 times the white label.
Right.
what White Label had, and this has even more. So it's like every flavor that the Jim Beam Black Label had, the extra age had on the nose. This has a lot of the same, but it's amplified even further. So that's why I went 4 1/4.
Okay. Fair enough.
What'd you give it, 3 1/4?
I gave 4 1/4 as well.
I felt like I was backed.
Same.
I felt like I was backed into a corner. You're like, really long hair? Okay, calm your fucking Sugar Creek DNA down a little bit and walk me through how you.
How did you get there?
How did you come up with 4 1/4 on the nose? Why? But yeah, now we know. You were just fucking with me. Yeah, cool. So you gave it a 4 1/4 as well. How about the palate?
Well, I gave it 4.5.
Holy shit! You're not going to believe this. But first, tell me, why did you give this a 4.5?
It's got everything I love about it. I felt
use my answer.
I felt that the caramel and vanilla's in there. Well, specifically the vanilla really took on that smooth custardy kind of sweetness. But then I felt like that orange citrus comes through really, really well, balanced with a nice oakiness to it.
Well, those are exactly my reasons, and I covered my paper so you couldn't read my answer, but you already read it. But like you said, or I already said what it was. You didn't read it. You don't care what my answers are. You rate things on your own. But you mentioned the vanilla and creaminess, and as we were tasting it, you said custard, and said something along the lines of bread pudding, and it reminded you of it. That's kind of what it did with me on the finish, and why I gave it a 4 1/4 on the finish, because it reminded me of a baked a lot of baking spices with like a delicious baked treat. So like if you put this in bread pudding, I would not be mad at it. Like I think with bread pudding and French toast, they'll put brandy in it. It's a much more like mapley kind of flavored forward thing, but you're already going to use maple in those. So like, just use the bourbon, and this would be a great bourbon for that. Yeah, I think.
I agree.
I wouldn't put it in a barbecue sauce, but I would put it in my desserts. Very good. So I gave it a 4 1/4 on the finish. What about you?
On the
finish.
And your palate was a 4.5, correct?
Yes.
Okay. My finish was an even 4.
All right, ballparking it. Well, speaking of even 4, that's what I gave the bottle presentation.
I went ahead and bumped mine to a 4 1/4.
You did?
Yep.
I'm not surprised by that, because you went back at it, and I know you like the torn edge thing. And now that I look at it here in better lighting, it's not burnt like I thought it was. It's torn.
Yeah, it's that handmade parchment paper kind of a.
You liked
edge.
that about the Buffalo Trace label.
Exactly.
I think that was the first time I heard you even bring that up. I was like, that's.
And the topper on it is top shelf, solid wood top that's capped with a nice copper.
Yeah, it's wild.
Medallion on the top of it.
They pressed it together.
It's pressed on there.
Like you said, you're not going to fight with it and try to pull it apart.
Yeah. And then it's real natural cork.
That I get my 4 1/4, 4.5, 4 1/4, 4. All that added up. We need to talk about our Savor the Burn math from time to time and tell people how we come up with these things. So we take all of our totals.
4 categories.
4 categories.
1 to 5.
1 to 5.
0 to 5, I guess, technically.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, technically 0 to 5. 0 to 5. And then we add them up. That total is divided by 2. And that's how we come up with our score, our final score.
Yep.
And so my final score is 8.5. Yours is going to be 8 1/4.
Our numbers were pretty close, but they were just slightly skewed here and there. Mine came out to an 8.5 as well.
Oh shit, it did. Yeah, we flipped. Finish and bottle presentation. That was it. Wow, we got to the same number, which is probably the second time this has ever happened. But at least on these full length episodes, we came to the same number once, I think, with the Flavier Advent Calendar. So I don't remember which one it was, but it was pretty good. So
What a wild ride that was.
that was so much fun. That was a lot of fucking work, and it was that
was a lot of work,
A
but
crash
man, that-
course in video editing, trying to make sure that it all funneled down into 90 or 60 seconds.
Right.
Which you can post
That was
longer
so
videos
hard
in
to
60
do.
seconds, but
Man. Well,
but-
in order to get the shorts
Yeah.
aspect of it, it needs to be under 60 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That was almost near an impossible challenge, but I feel like it was a very worthwhile challenge
Mm-hmm.
because it really forced us to think about what made sense. There were several times that I shot all my video, I put them all together, and I had like 3.5, 4 minutes worth
Yeah.
of stuff. And you're just like, how the hell am I supposed to edit this? Edit literally 3/4 of this out. Mm-hmm. And so it really kind of made you be very, very discerning about what's important, what's not important, and kind of go from there. And
I like to say a lot of goofball shit, right? And so it was really difficult for me to do that and keep everything, the whole total of all of it, under 60 seconds. So I had to resort to wearing stupid shit. So
and then have the branding, a little bit of an
Yes.
intro, a little bit of an outro.
Yeah, and I wasn't always able to fit that stuff in there, and that kind of sucks because you really came up with some really cool graphics and stuff to make that work and make it work right. But whatever. So we both ended up with the same score.
Yeah, this is a great bourbon. And I can only imagine, this is my first experience with a Kentucky Owl product. I have not had any of their other stuff. Like I say, and I've never seen in person, but looking and visiting their website, I learned that they have a line of whiskeys that they have titled the Wise Man Bourbon. And those tend to be in the $48 to $60 range versus this bottle is $120. And then all the other Kentucky Owl bottles are up from there. 150, 300, 500, multi-$1,000 bottles. But this is the only one that I've actually had, so I can only imagine the other offerings are probably pretty good also.
And I bet you're right. I bet all of those other ones, the Kentucky Owl offerings that are out there, will be just as splendid, but for different reasons. We found that with other folks on their other distilleries with their different things. We feel that way about the Breckenridge, the Balcones, the West Bottoms Whiskey Company. We've tried quite a few distilleries offerings that have multiple offerings, but this turned out pretty good. I wrote down here a great and flavorful bourbon with interesting history to boot. Sharing this unique bottle with family and friends will not be a problem. Try it and let us know what you think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. To me, that's, aside from the taste and the flavors and everything else, learning about the stories and the history of some of the stuff is a big part of the fun and the lure to get into this.
That's definitely one of the things that I've really come to love about this podcast is the ability to find history in these things. I've always been interested in the Prohibition era things and how that's how NASCAR came to be, and how like there's still people out there in the woods and in the hills of West Virginia and Kentucky and Tennessee out there distilling their own moonshine out there,
hiding from the world.
They're still they're off grid as hell, and they're still trying to come up with their own uniqueness and find their way in this world that can be so difficult to navigate.
Yeah, and how all these things kind of fit together.
Yeah.
Like, as we haven't gotten into it yet, but I'm excited to get into the Blade and Bow.
Yeah.
Just because of the history and the story behind the distillery that they kind of took over and the orphan barrels that they have kind of been collecting and blending them together, and just a lot of just fascinating history.
Yeah, and you had this Kentucky Owl, this entire warehouse that was confiscated. Had it not been struck by Dago lightning. And, I say Dago lightning, yes, it's a derogatory term, but according to 23andMe, there's a little bit of Italian in there. That's why I feel justified. Plus, I just think it's funny as hell. Like, people say that, it's a derogatory term, and yes, it is, but I don't know. I think it's funny. And I don't mean it in a derogatory way or whatever. I feel like I'm justifying this more than it needs to be justified. But that said, had these barrels been orphaned, a company like Blade & Bow would have come along and bought them up and sold
or Craft Barrel or
one of these. Yeah, one of them.
Barrel Craft.
Barrel Craft, yeah. And, I mean, could you imagine, like, in, 1916, a warehouse full of barrels from 1916 becomes available. Yeah. I mean, there'd be clamoring for people like... It'd be like finding a 69 Camaro ZL1 in somebody's garage, and your heart's beating out of your chest like, oh my God, this is the thing, Like they only made like 200 of these, and 5 are known to exist, and I just found one. It's an aluminum big block. Oh my heck, you're gonna freak out, or whatever,
Or like the day I'm in Ryman's talking about the elusive unicorn Weller Antique 107.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, excuse me for one moment.
Right. Pardon me.
And then 3 minutes later, I see him walking back carrying the bottle with him to put it up on the counter.
And he wasn't just dragging it in front of your face like a carrot in front of a horse or whatever. He was just there to make your day.
Yep.
To watch your fucking world light up in front of him.
Yep. Awesome.
I like people like that. I'm people like that. I love doing that kind of shit.
I as well.
So yeah, that was and how good was that?
Oh my goodness.
Right? It was definitely one of the best that we've tried. It's top 5, I would say. Yeah. The Breckenridge PX, the Stag, and the Antique 107,
and the Bookers.
And the Bookers. Yeah, those are top 4, I think, for me. If I had to throw a 5 in there, it'd probably be one of those Balcones or one of the Angel's Envies. Sorry, I had to visually zone out so I could read the words in the labels flashing in my mind. So definitely good. Speaking of definitely good, weird segue, I hope you assholes listening are checking out all of our socials: Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We have been noticing that there's been a steady incline of viewership and subscriptions there on YouTube, and we're definitely happy to see that. Thank you for following along. And for too long, we're going to have even more exciting content up there on YouTube that I think everybody's going to be excited to see what we're doing. And no, we're not even going to hint. We're not even going to say what it is. But it's going to be huge, very exciting, and it has nothing to do with politicians, past, present, or future. So, thank you, dear listener, for listening to this episode of the Savor the Burn podcast, as we tried and enjoyed the Kentucky Owl Confiscated by Kentucky Owl. Mr. W2, do you have anything else to add?
It's good stuff.
It is good stuff. I totally agree.
The juice is good.
It's good. So, yes, thank you for listening. And like I said in my little review here, try it and let us know what you think, because we're always interested in feedback. We don't live for it. We don't die for it, but we do enjoy it. And we love hearing what you guys think about the different things that we have tried, and seeing if you guys actually are paying attention to what we're doing, or if it's all just clicks and whistles on your end. So thank you for listening along and enjoying the ride with us. We are well into our second year so far, and we're really enjoying things.
Yes, sir.
So as always, no matter what you're drinking and who you're drinking it with, and all of the things, always remember, keep on burning.